Okay, looks like it's going to be a news night here. Let's see what's going on. A day after the first debate with the President of the United States and all the other stuff going on, making the news. Newsworthy. Newsworthiness. I don't know what this is. PD, stand back.
Far-right extremist group immediately celebrating the president's words. President Trump today.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are.
Words. President Trump today.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are.
Words. President Trump today.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are.
After 90 minutes of insults and interruptions that appeared to be the president's strategy.
He graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me.
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
The fight for the highest office in the land plunging to a new low. The Commission on Presidential Debates today acknowledging the freewheeling format's failure, announcing it would make changes for this year's remaining matchups, writing additional structure should be added to ensure a more orderly discussion of the issues. The two candidates clashing over the coronavirus crisis.
Between 750 and 1,000 people today are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are.
President Trump looking to deflect criticism of his decision to hold large campaign rallies with no social distancing and few supporters wearing masks, while overstating the number attending those rallies.
We've had no negative effect.
No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect. And we've had 35, 40,000 people.
It would have been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
Ben, he's a fool on that.
If Biden trying to neutralize the president's effort to tie him to what he calls the radical left.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the Democratic Party is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of.
And distancing himself from his party's most progressive policies.
That is not my plan.
That's
the Green New Deal is not my plan.
And Peter joins us now. Peter, any word what changes the debate commission is looking at making?
Yeah, Lester, no final decisions have been made, but tonight a source close to the committee tells me among the changes being considered, cutting off a candidate's microphone if they violate the rules. Lester?
All right, Peter Alexander, thank you. As you heard, one of the most inflammatory moments in last night's debate was what the president said and didn't say about a white supremacist group, which energized its members. Here's Hallie Jackson with more on that.
Pledging allegiance to President Trump today, the Proud Boys, a group of far-right extremists.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are. They have to stand down, let law enforcement do their work.
President Trump facing fallout for not denouncing the group more clearly in one of the debate's most explosive exchanges.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared to specifically do it, sir?
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
What would you like me to condemn?
Proud Boys and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
That phrase, stand back and stand by, now a rallying cry and a new logo for the Proud Boys, a self-described pro-Western chauvinist fraternity of men, classified as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center and tied to several violent incidents at recent protests.
Today is like Christmas for the Proud Boys. This sort of dog whistle to one of the most violent groups on the right is only going to be seen as a sort of energizing call, marching orders to get back on the streets and do more damage.
On the campaign trail today, Joe Biden making his condemnation clear.
My message to the Proud Boys and every other white supremacist group is cease and desist. That's not who we are. This is not who we are as Americans.
And with pressure building, even from conservative outlets, for the president to issue his own disavowal.
But he's got to clarify that right away. That's like, are you against evil?
The president, pressed by reporters, said this.
I've always denounced any form.
President Trump has denounced white supremacists before, but under heavy pressure, like after he made these comments about the deadly 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Now, some voters wonder why the president's hesitated to more forcefully condemn forces of hate.
This was a clear chance for you to come out and rebuke those white supremacists, and he missed that golden opportunity.
Hallie Jackson, NBC News, the White House.
And with voting already underway in 30 states, the president attempted to raise new doubts about the election, especially the wide use of mail-in voting, despite little evidence that it leads to fraud. Jeff Bennett reports.
Think some people.
President Trump sowing doubt about the legitimacy of the election during Tuesday night's debate.
This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
With more false attacks on voting by mail.
As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster.
That's despite study after study showing voter fraud is exceedingly rare. And recent testimony from FBI Director Christopher Wray.
We have not seen, historically, any kind of coordinated national voter fraud effort in a major election.
Still, the president unleashed a flood of misinformation and mistruths about mail-in voting.
A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country.
A handful of states with a mix of Democratic and Republican governors routinely send ballots to all registered voters. Election officials say by registering to vote, people are effectively requesting a ballot, and that there's no such thing as an unsolicited ballot.
There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket.
In Pennsylvania, a temporary elections worker accidentally threw out 9 military ballots. The state's top election official says the isolated incident amounts to a mistake and not intentional fraud. The worker has since been fired, and there is no evidence of ballots being dumped in creeks. During the debate, President Trump also sparked fears of voter intimidation.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully.
Joe Biden delivering his election message directly to voters.
Before we go any further in what they're saying here about what Donald Trump is doing towards fanning the flames, fear-mongering, that was the very same thing that the Martin Police Academy up here tried to force up into my life in 2005 simply because of me dropping off Bible leaflets and telling an individual that there was so much controversy in my life at that time that I probably was going to wind up on the Channel 6 News in regards to the material that I was putting out. I had police officers from Weakley County, from Martin, Tennessee, drive all the way to Huntington while I was working for Jimmy Darnell and David Lloyd, First Choice Body Shop, without any type of a pre-existing warrant. Drove all the way out there and picked me up and drove me back to Martin, questioning me about, did I say anything to a convenience store teller in this regards? And I told them, yes, I did. And they asked me, well, what was your intent? I said, well, and I did use the word explosion. I go, well, you can have an explosion of Bermuda grass in your yard, and just because you use the word explosion don't mean that you mean it in a harmful, lethal way. They still went ahead and pursued their arrest on me. And of course, I hired a bogus attorney by the name of Benjamin Dempsey that wasn't worth a flip, that made me sign off on a piece of paper towards admitting guilt, knowing good and well that my intent never was in a harmful manner. Okay? If you get to looking at what they charged me with, they charged me with falsifying files, which the way that it was explained to me, according to the Tennessee law books, that means the same thing if you're standing in an auditorium or a theater during a movie, and you start crying, fire, 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 and you create a panic. You create this panic to the point that there's a stampede. People start running over each other. It has serious implications that is similar towards terrorism, threatening terrorism type implications. Is not what the president is doing right now towards bringing out all these false lies about the election, towards fear-mongering? Does that not fit under the same category as falsifying files? In other words, he's speaking to a large group of people, even though he's not in a theater, he's not in a coliseum, but he has a big mic, and he's telling everybody all these lies about these things that is occurring that's not occurring. Is that not the same thing as falsifying files? Does that not fit under the same pretense of what that they was trying to nail me with here in Weakley County towards having the potential of being a homegrown terrorist? This was in 2005, way before the incidences ever happened in my life up in Kentucky in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2012. Way before the occurrences ever took place in my life in 2009 out in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Way before the occurrences ever took place in my life pertaining to me dropping off material at the Capitol building down in downtown Atlanta to Governor Sonny Perdue in 2006. There has been a pattern of people attacking me, trying to promote me as me being the monster, the bad guy. And they have used every trick under the sun, regardless whether it was the Kentucky authorities, the Oklahoma authorities, the Georgia authorities, or the Tennessee authorities. But yet now I got to sit and watch a president that's basically doing the very same thing that they was trying to accuse me of, okay, that nobody's giving a shit about. Nobody. Towards this guy that's out here spewing all this stuff. It wouldn't be no different if he wasn't actually in a theater crying fire, 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 creating a panic. It's fear-mongering. And that was the whole concept of the charge of falsifying files that they was wanting to nail me with here in Weakley County in 2005, during which time that I was working for First Choice Body Shop in Huntington, Tennessee, by the name of Jimmy Darnell and David Lloyd. Both of these individuals are still living. I had the FBI, the TBI, come to their workplace questioning me, give or take about 2 or 3 weeks before Martin, Tennessee decided to do what they was going to do. We have a society, folks, that is trying their damnedest to punish the innocent and basically give the guilty a green light and tell them what kind of good job that they're doing. We have an upside down society in America right now that is not working for peace and utopia. If anything, it's doing just the opposite. It's working towards our Achilles heel. And if you don't know what the word Achilles heel means, it means to our destruction, to our devastation, to the end of our existence as a United States government. That's the direction that we're going in right now. And it's really sad because the whole time I've been trying to help these people since I stood out into the eyes of the general public in 1989, telling them the promises of God and telling them the promises that there is a covenant or a promise that has been made by the evangelical realm pertaining to the supernatural realm of there going to be a utopia or a peace upon to the earth before the opening of of the second seal. And it's as if all this time for the past 30-something years, I've been speaking to the wind. So whatever becomes of the American people's lives, do not come knocking on my door telling me that it was my fault. Once more, the ministry did not fail the people, but the people failed the ministry. They have been bamboozled. They have been deceived. They have been bewitched. And now they're looking for an scapegoat. What's this guy's fault? Oh, it's this guy's fault. Don't nobody want to blame themselves. They want to blame each other, but they don't want to blame themselves. That's where we are right now as a society. So whatever befalls between now and this election, which is give or take about 39 days, something like that. Give or take about a month, a little more than a month. Time's flying by. But whatever befalls upon to this great nation, they have brought this upon to themselves, beginning with Homeland Security, beginning with Secret Service that wanted to cover this up whenever 9 tapes wound up going to the White House. I have tried and tried and tried to put my message out as vividly, as clearly, as authentically, as professionally, and I could never get nobody to support me, regardless whether it was Alamo Baptist Church, the churches over in Kenton, the churches over in Sharon, the churches over here in Sidonia, the churches in Martin, the churches in Milan, the churches in Jackson, the churches in Dyersburg, the churches in the surrounding areas. I never could get nobody to help me, to support me. So whatever our fate may be, our lot may be, it's not going to be because of the messenger that is talking right now that is still trying to get his message out to the general public, but it's going to be because of the people, especially law enforcement agencies that has tried deliberately to destroy the founder of this ministry. And I've got proof of it. I'm just not whistling Dixie. I can prove everything that I'm talking about. In 2005, whenever I was attacked, that was during which time that I had to basically move completely out of this area and move to Nashville towards doing work up there for Price's Collision Center. And then I went to work for a dealership while I was up there. And then, of course, Hurricane Katrina hit. I packed all my tools in 2006. In January, I went down to Gulfport, Mississippi, and helped about 6 months of cleanup and working down there with FEMA and Corps of Engineers with Katrina. I'm telling you, there's a pattern here. And to think that this president can spew out this type of false information and nobody looks upon to it as it being in a serious or serious form, it speaks volumes. It speaks absolutely volumes about how that they're willing to go after the little guy that didn't make such statements as falsifying files on that type of pretense, but somebody that is out here spewing up fear-mongering, they let him go. So what's going on here? What's going on? What's truly going on with the weekly county judicial system, beginning with the sheriff's office and then spreading throughout these littler towns, Martin, Dresden, Palmersville, Latham, Greenfield, Sharon, South Fulton. I think South Fulton's in Obion County. Como. What's really going on here? The same thing that's going on with Kentucky authorities. Yep. Trying to drown somebody. Trying to put a stamp on somebody of being a homegrown terrorist. The same thing that's going on, or what went on in my life out in 2009, out in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, simply because of me over there investigating them in 2009. There's a pattern here. There's a consistent pattern where I've got these type of law enforcement agencies in different states trying to do the same thing, including right here in my home county, in my home state of Tennessee. So whatever befalls upon to these poor bastards, they have brought this upon to themselves. They have brought this upon to their children and their children's children because of the obnoxiousness of the hypocrisy that they have chosen to believe in. I myself have made my peace with God, and I'm ready to go on to meet my Maker so that I can get out of this insanity that they have created. I did not create this. They created this. The demons working through these people have created this, and this is just more proof of it tonight as we sit and listen to all these different groups. And I'm pretty sure Antifa, the Proud Boys, the hooligans, the Coyotes, the Bloods, the Reds, the Crips, Hell's Angels, whoever. My God, there's probably thousands of them in America. Thousands. Regardless whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast. That has thousands of different names. But have you noticed one of the biggest ones out there, Hell's Angels, don't never get mentioned by the president. Don't never get mentioned by the politicians. We're going to name all these little boys, but ain't nobody mentioning none of the big boys. You know why? Do you really want to know why? It's because the big boys are with the attorneys, the judges, the so-called Masons, the pillars of society. I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. I've known for quite some time what has been going on here pertaining to the ugly behavior of how that these demonic sorcery affairs have taken over people's lives here in America. Do I wish for hardship to fall upon to society? Absolutely not. Never have. And still don't. But it's obvious this is the path that they have wanted to take in rejection, in this resistance movement. So be it. Let them do what they're going to do as we get further closer into this election. And it ain't over. Even if it goes over smoothly during the election, it still ain't over, because I guarantee you the coronavirus is still out there. And it's going to intensify come this fall whenever the weather starts getting cold, rainy, damp, bad. That's how the virus thrives. It thrives off of cold stuff. We've seen that throughout the food markets, of how that it attacks various food chains that is known of working in cold environments. That's where it hit the people the hardest, was in some of the coldest environments. It's really sad where we are right now because of the resistance movement that began during the Reagan and the Bush administration, beginning with Homeland Security. It's really, really sad. But it is what it is.
This is all about trying to dissuade people from voting, because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election.
The president also said that with mail voting, we may not know the election outcome for months. While results could take longer this year, given a surge in mail-in balloting, election officials say it's more likely a matter of days or weeks, not months. Lester?
All right, Jeff Bennett at the White House, thanks. And what about the voters themselves? Did the debate change anyone's mind? We asked NBC's Kate Snow to check back with the Ohio voters she introduced us to before the debate.
Can you raise your hands if you're going to support Trump this time?
We met these farmers last week in Ohio. When we checked in today, they're still strongly backing the president.
I think he looked presidential, but he was pent up and argumentative because of the 47 months he's had.
When it's something as serious as the president, as who's going to be president, I feel like you're going to want to fight and scratch and claw a little bit.
And on the president not condemning hate groups,
I don't compare with the Proud Boys or whatever. We have the freedom to be whatever we want. If those people want to do that, they're not hurting anybody. They may believe it, but as long as they're not burning and rioting and threatening people's lives and their businesses, what are you going to do?
So you're supportive of the president not calling them out?
I think he could have done a little better on that point.
His refusal to condemn white supremacy. In this day, in our country, that should be the easiest thing for him to do.
Amber Jarrett is one of 4 women we interviewed in a Cleveland suburb. Today, she says she's still a strong supporter of Vice President Biden.
I was impressed with him because it cannot be easy to deal with someone like President Trump at all.
But for the 2 in our group who were undecided, they still are.
I felt embarrassed as an American, honestly. These are the 2 people that's who wants to be the leader of our country.
All President Trump needed to do was not interrupt, and all Biden needed to do was not copy that type of behavior. I think it's completely inappropriate to say, shut up, man, to the President of the United States, no matter who he is. I'm happy that my children were not awake to see that in the behavior.
Catherine Schroth, a cello instructor and mom of 3, had told us she was looking for this.
Intelligence, clarity of plan, someone who loves America and wants to see it unified again.
Did you hear that?
Not a lot. Intelligence, I did not see from either candidate.
One thing all these moms agree on, they want better behavior next time. Kate Snow, NBC News.
Let's bring in our political director and moderator of Meet the Press, Chuck Todd. Chuck, what kind of impact did last night have?
Well, the best way to look at a post-debate and to see which side is having a better time and which having a worse time is which one has to explain the most. And today, it's been Donald Trump that has had to do the explaining on why he did not denounce white supremacy, why he did not denounce the Proud Boys, why even today he still sort of danced around it. He seems to struggle with this issue. And I'll tell you, a lot of Republicans down the ballot, Senate Republicans today, really were urging the president to be more forceful about this because they think this is absolutely damaging, particularly with swing voters in the suburbs.
All right, Chuck Todd, thank you. And on Monday, a program night, I'll be hosting a town hall with Joe Biden in Miami at 8 Eastern, kicking off our Cross America Week, where I'll be visiting key battleground states and talking to voters. In 60 seconds, on the break, tens of thousands of airline workers facing layoffs within hours. And another NFL player tests positive for COVID. A game this Sunday postponed.
The next time you buy something, look.
New light on why the grand jury did not indict any officers for her death.
Let's back up.
The release of the grand jury recordings of the Breonna Taylor case has now been delayed until Friday. A judge approved the Kentucky Attorney General's request for an extension to make redactions. Taylor's family hopes the recordings will shed new light on why the grand jury did not indict any officers for her death. Thousands of airline workers are at risk of losing their jobs after Congress and the White House failed to reach a deal today to extend federal relief. The 2 sides will meet again tomorrow, but the money is set to run out tonight. Here's Tom Costello.
Just hours till midnight, and without more government aid, the potential for up to 50,000 airline layoffs. Pilots, flight attendants, ticket counter, and ramp workers. United flight attendant Amanda Steinbrunn has already received a furlough notice.
How are you going to make it if you're furloughed and presumably without a paycheck?
I don't have a backup plan. I'm going to be in the unemployment line like so many other people.
The airlines promised to preserve jobs through September in exchange for $25 billion in taxpayer help. But airline travel is still down a staggering 70%. Delta and Southwest say they can avoid job cuts for now, but United and American are among the carriers who say they'll be forced to cut jobs without another $25 billion. As House Speaker Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin negotiate a much bigger economic aid package, American's CEO says he'll put furloughs on hold if a deal looks close.
Look, the last thing we want to do is furlough employees. That's why we've been fighting so hard for them to come to an agreement.
The COVID pandemic also has dealt a body blow to Disney, now laying off 28,000 park employees, including restaurant worker Claire McVie.
There's immense anxiety not knowing if I have a job to go back to.
Meanwhile, a new poll finds 61% of households with children report the pandemic has caused serious financial problems, with at least one household adult either losing their job or having their wages cut. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello with that tonight. Thank you. The NFL is postponing a game for the first time this season after a COVID outbreak among the Tennessee Titans. Now the teams could end up playing on a Tuesday for just the second time in 70 years. Here's Sam Brock.
The NFL's highly anticipated return just collided with its first COVID-related reality check.
Nobody's to blame. We're in a pandemic.
The Tennessee Titans reacting to news their Sunday showdown with the Pittsburgh Steelers will be postponed until Monday or Tuesday.
Obviously, we didn't choose to be in this situation, but it's the hand we're dealt.
The move coming after a fourth Titans player tested positive for the virus this week, bringing the organization's total to 9. The NFL tweeting the delay will allow additional time for further daily COVID-19 testing and to ensure the health and safety of players, coaches, and game day personnel.
How significant is any stoppage to the NFL?
Well, it's huge because you want to try as best you can to get 16 games played for each team, so there's a fair number. But you want to make sure that it's done in the healthiest manner possible.
Other leagues not playing in bubbles have hit stumbling blocks too.
3-0 Miami.
The Miami Marlins reached 20 positive tests and nearly crashed Major League Baseball's season. Now the NFL is taking major precautions, hoping for a bounce back of its own.
Here in Miami, the Dolphins are one of a small number of NFL teams that are allowing people inside for games. And tonight, it appears the Titans are sticking with their plans to have some 7,000 fans in Nashville whenever that game is played. Lester?
All right, Sam Brock, thanks. And next, the wildfire emergency gets even worse. Tens of thousands of homes now threatened.
And they found themselves in a magic.
Just keeps getting worse, doesn't it? Jesus.
Side of the river. And that's over 5,000 off. Come check out our growing inventory, and remember, we're just 5 minutes from Paducah on the saving side of the river.
Those deadly wildfires in Northern California's wine country are now threatening tens of thousands of homes. Miguel Almaguer is there with the latest.
Before sunrise, the hills surrounding Napa Valley became a blowtorch again. Racing in multiple directions, 2 fires in Northern California's wine country are now threatening twice as many structures, more than 24,000. Hundreds of homes are lost.
You don't believe it until you see it. And it's still surreal.
With roughly a dozen wineries damaged or destroyed, evacuation orders include entire cities. When Mike Christian returns home, there will be nothing left to say.
It's a very sobering thing. What we thought was important is now ashes.
As extreme wind and heat challenge exhausted crews, thick smoke is now grounding the air attack. When flames tore through this area, little could be done to stop it. Multi-million-dollar homes and smaller properties are a total loss. A few hours later, this home is still a threat, capable of sparking a new fire with its hot embers. Tonight, a region known for its beauty, now marred by its destruction.
It's just hard to see it this way. You know, it's beautiful here, but that's being stripped one fire at a time.
While officials have an estimate for the damage, the true scope of the devastation has not yet been realized. That could take days, even weeks to truly comprehend. Right now, firefighters say they're just focused on stopping the forward progress of this blaze. Lester?
It is such a shame. All right, Miguel Almaguer, thank you. Up next, the act of kindness. One former Marine helping another. That's inspiring America.
What does it take to be the nation's #1 cancer center? It takes subspecialists with an unmatched depth of expertise to turn.
I want to get this last part.
Free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Americans who drive our trucks and ambulances, who put fear aside and run toward the flames. These are the people we depend on. That's why at the Ford Motor Company, our Super Duties have undergone 20 million miles of testing, so that these people can depend on us.
I'm still discovering what's next and still going for my best, even though I live with a high risk of stroke due to AFib not caused by a heart valve problem. So if there's a better treatment than warfarin, I'm reaching for that. Eliquis. Eliquis is proven to reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, plus has significantly less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis is FDA approved and has...
Jesus, come on.
And campaign stops blew high.
Another commercial.
About the issues.
There's gain from it. A local.
How many commercials?
More, and we're tracking your next chance for rain.
It's all next at 6.
In tonight's Inspiring America, one retired Marine who had something so valuable taken from him, and another who helped get it back. Here's Katie Beck.
Like most veteran Marines, 84-year-old retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Fileski has weathered tough days. This one is different.
It always brings me to the verge of tears.
Happy tears, a wrong made right after a break-in at the Fileski home in Northern Virginia. Stolen, among other things, sacred military service medals.
For heroism.
Detective Frank Corona worked the case with heart. He too is a former Marine, moved by Fileski's valiant service in Vietnam.
He stayed there, under fire, until all his Marines were lifted off. That is a great American.
Corona caught the burglars, the medals got away. So Corona, with his own money, ordered new ones.
I can never replace what was taken, but a small token of our appreciation.
It didn't feel small to the man who earned them.
Lord.
What better way to honor service than by doing more of it? Katie Beck, NBC News.
A bond that can't be broken. That's Nightly News. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself. Andy?
Mr. Lester Holt looks like he's under the weather. I can tell by looking at his eyes and listening to his voice and the way that his speech is impaired that he's got a cold. Virus maybe, allergies maybe, pollen, I don't know. Good luck to all of us the day after the 2020 presidential debate that has turned out to have been one of the most worst, horriblest debates that I think that any president has ever debated another president towards a job has ever occurred, which was last night. Good luck to all of us, and God bless America, and shalom.